The following is a lecture on the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 4, Text 26, given by His Divine Grace Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Gurudev, recorded on May 17th, 1981, in Dallas, Texas.
Bhakti yogena tapo yuktena parthivaha swadharmena harim prinam sarvam kamam sanarjaha. The king of this planet, Maharaj Ambarish, thus performed devotional service to the Lord, and in this endeavor practiced severe austerity, always satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his constitutional activities. He gradually gave up all material desires. Report by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Severe austerities in the practice of devotional service are of many varieties. For example, in worshipping the deity in a temple, there are certainly laborious activities. Sri Vigrahara Dhanha Nityanana Shringara Tanmangira Majanado. One must decorate the deity, cleanse the temple, bring water from the Ganges and Jamuna, continue the routine work, perform arati many times, prepare first-class food for the deity, prepare dresses, and so on. In this way, one must constantly be engaged in various activities, and the hard labor involved is certainly an austerity. Similarly, the hard labor involved in come on. Just stand outside somewhere and stop the door for a moment, or else I don't want the door open. I'm going to oil this door. Similarly, the hard labor involved is certainly in preaching. Similarly, the hard labor involved in preaching, preparing literature, preaching to atheistic men, and distributing literature door to door is of course an austerity. Tapo yuktena, tapo divyam putraka. Such austerity is necessary. Yena satvam sukhet. By such austerity in devotional service, one is purified of material existence. Kaman shanhaya jaho. Indeed, such austerity leads one to the constitutional position of devotional service. In this way, one can give up material desires, and as soon as one is free from material desires, he is free from the repetition of birth and death, old age and disease. Here's a chant. Om Jnanatimanandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chaksu Lamitatam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Ma Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Nami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishe Chashandavadi Askati Devshatane. This verse is a description of the great king and saintly personality, Maharaj Ambarish, who lived many long years ago. Maharaj Ambarish was the emperor of this entire planet. Because in those days, one king ruled the entire world. It was not divided as it is today into many different nations. Rather, the whole world was taken as the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And on his behalf, the Raja Rishis, the saintly kings, enacted their administration. So this personalities, these kings, are described. Evam param parat praptam nimo rajarshye vidu sakanne hamata yoganashta parantava imam devasute yogam praktava mahamaviyam vivasan manave pravur manurik shakave pravit. There were two dynasties, chiefly the dynasty of Suryavamsa, the dynasty of the sun, and this dynasty of the moon. So the kings were coming in these various dynasties, as it is said, beginning with Vivasan Manu. Vivasan is the sun god. So he instructed this knowledge to Ikshaku, who instructed he instructed it to Manu, who instructed it to Ikshaku. But these are different kings coming down into cyclic succession. In other words, these personalities were not simply mundane administrators, as we find today, but rather they were saintly persons, because it was deemed to be the essence of human life to return back to home, back to Godhead. And it was the duty of these saintly kings to see that everything, all arrangements were made for everyone's imminent return back to Godhead. Therefore, the kings were first of all great devotees of the Lord. And in fact, this is the major qualification that anyone can have. As is described in a previous verse, Sambardhayanti yat kama svadhajya paribhavitaha durlabha napi siddhanam mukundam ridi pashyatana. Those who are saturated with the transcendental happiness of rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are uninterested even in the achievements of great mystics, for such achievements do not enhance the transcendental bliss felt by a devotee who always thinks of Krishna within the core of his heart. So even if one is situated as a great mystic, or that cannot compare with the realization and the satisfaction that comes from rendering devotional service to Krishna. Neither can any attainment of, no matter how great it may be, of material happiness, which is exemplified by the 8 perfections of mystic yoga. These are nothing compared to the pleasure of transcendental devotional service. As it is said, Narayana Parasarvena Kutas Jana Vipate Saga Pavaga Narakesha Pitulya Darshanaha. The one who is constantly engaged in the devotional service of Narayana Krishna. Even the greatest pleasures which are available on the heavenly planet are of no interest. Neither is there any desire for liberation, nor any concern for going into hell or for accepting all kinds of miserable conditions. Because one who is fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna, he is indifferent to all situations, no matter how good or how bad they may be. Because ultimately, everything is seen by a devotee as connected with Krishna. He takes any situation, whatever he may be placed in, as the mercy of the Lord. If there's some good opportunity, some fortune comes his way, he takes it that I wasn't worthy, but Krishna has blessed me. And if there is some reverse then he also sees this as the mercy of God. He doesn't take it that when there is some advantageous situation developing, that this is due to all of my good credits. Rather, he sees that actually Krishna is too kind. Krishna is so kind. My spiritual master is so kind that even though I have no qualifications whatsoever, they are blessing me. And if some unfortunate situation befalls, he takes it that this is all due to my sinful nature. Therefore I'm suffering. But because my spiritual master and Krishna are always watching over me, they have minimized the degree of difficulty. Everything is there for reminding us of Krishna, providing that we are always engaged in Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting Krishna's glory. One who hears and chants the glories of the Lord. Shindatam Sakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridiyanta Stauhiya Badrani Ritanoti Suritsatam. Shindatam Sakata Krishna, by constantly engaging in the glorification of Krishna. Because this must be done constantly. It is not that Krishna consciousness is to be executed one day a week for a few hours in a temple, or a few hours a day. One has to learn how to render devotional service on a 24-hour-a-day basis. One has to make his schedule in such a way that he is always able to hear and chant the glories of Krishna. Then, automatically, there will be Vishnu Smaranam. There will be remembrance of Krishna. Because all that is impure will be cleansed out of the heart. Now our heart is full of material things, and therefore it is very difficult to remember the all-pure personality of Godhead Krishna. But when the heart is cleansed by hearing and chanting constantly, then the form of the Lord becomes realized within the heart, and one never stops seeing Krishna even for a moment. One will see Krishna everywhere, in either his personal form or in those things connected with him. Just like sometimes we may not see someone we love, but everything that we see, because everything is connected with that person, it reminds us of that person. So in the same way, everything for a devotee has some connection with Krishna. Because a devotee has no separate motive, no separate interest. His only interest is to serve Krishna. Therefore, where can he find anything which cannot be used in the service of God? This is described that that everything has its relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yukta Vairagya Uchate. Renunciation, which is meant for furthering the service of the Lord. That renunciation is to be accepted. Not that we renounce things which have their proper use in God's service and think of this as being renunciation. We are ready to accept all things, whatever they may be, any position, any condition, any facility. A devotee is not bewildered by his situation within the material world. For a materialist, the more possessions he acquires, this makes him forget Krishna. But for a pure devotee, Krishna may send unlimited opulences, and he doesn't become bewildered. But this position cannot be imitated by those who are neophyte. For them, they have to engage in austerity. Therefore, we find these two activities are mentioned here. Sri Vigrahara Dhananittanana Shingaratana Mandira Majanaro Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nittanita. These two things, glorifying Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and glorifying Lord Sri Krishna by the processes of Sankirtan, Jagya, and deity worship. Deity worship means to replace your desires with Krishna's desires. It means, for example, to give up the desire to wear beautiful clothing yourself and rather to be satisfied seeing Krishna in beautiful dresses. Instead of being interested to apply makeup and perfume to one's own body, to be interested in seeing the scented oils smeared on the body of the Lord, and to see wonderful decorations upon his transcendental form. It means to replace your desire for eating palatable foods with the thought of offering these palatable foods to Krishna. It means to construct wonderful altars and temples as appropriate homes for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as oneself goes, to accept a very simple, humble position. Just like we have heard that one devotee who's in charge of construction at New Vrindavan, he built the palace for Srila Prabhupada, but personally he lived on a little platform underneath his workbench. He would sleep on a shelf in his workshop. That was his residence. But for Srila Prabhupada, his spiritual master, he offered him a palace. So this has been followed by all acharyas. This sacrifice, making sacred whatever one has by offering it to Krishna, just like these 6 Goswamis. They didn't demand houses and facilities, private cars, private houses. They didn't make all these demands. Their only demand was, somehow let me be engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna. Somehow let me be engaged in Krishna's service. They lived, as far as their residence goes, under a different tree each night. And they were so renounced. Raghunath Das was the son of a very wealthy father, but he refused all of these opulences because he felt this example will not be good. I have come here to be with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now why should I accept these facilities? Because his father had sent him so much money and servants, so that he would not in any way suffer. But he rejected all of this because he said, what is the use of these things? Now that I have come to Jagannath Puri to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why should I accept this? Similarly, we should not take this attitude that now that we have come to this Krishna conscious movement to take shelter of Lord Sri Krishna, that we start to worry about our personal requirements, our eating, our sleeping, our mating, and defending. This business we have left already. By taking initiation, it means that I have begun my path back to Godhead. It means that I'm giving up this material world. Not that I shall once again come back and accept all the facilities of material pleasure, of material maintenance. These things are not very important. As it is described here, that by practicing severe austerities, automatically one will come to the point of his constitutional position of devotional service. Because now, on account of our material desires, we are not situated in our constitutional position. Rather, we are situated in a temporary position. Constitutional means our original position. Swadharmena. Dharma means duties. Sva means one's own duties, one's own. One means the soul, not this body. Bodily activities are many, but Bhagavad Gita says, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja Mamekam Saranam Braja. Don't worry about all of these other duties. Take up this Eka Dharma. Take up your original constitutional duty. Then automatically you will not have to suffer in any way. because there are many different duties that one has, failing which one may have to get the reactions to neglecting these duties. But if you begin to serve Krishna on the transcendental platform, if you can maintain your position on the transcendental platform, you don't have to worry about all these other duties. Just as a man who has $1 billion has 1,000 and 100 and 1,000,000 even. The platform of devotional service to Krishna is not in any way without the advantages of all other things like austerity, study of the Vedas, going to a sacred holy place, or so many other things. Normally, one takes up different types of things, like going to a holy place to get purified, or study of the Vedas, or austerities. So many things at this time. But it is to be understood that one who engages in devotional service to Krishna under the instructions of the spiritual master, he automatically gets the result which is achieved after great difficulty by performing these other things. Because the glory of devotional service is that it is the original position of the eternal spirit soul. One who is engaged in devotional service is already liberated. He has already achieved salvation. The Christians are so much after salvation. But one who is already in Krishna consciousness or serving Krishna, he has already achieved salvation. Salvation in Mukti, what is that first? Mukti Mukali Sevati Isma. For one who is engaged in service to Krishna, Mukti is standing as a humble servant at his door. Liberation is just waiting. It is a byproduct of devotional service. So devotional service transcends all other different activities. And if one doesn't come to the point of devotional service, which means to serve Krishna, to serve and satisfy Krishna's desires, to put aside your own desires, his human life is spoiled, no matter how expertly he may have executed all other duties within the Varnashram institution. If one doesn't develop a desire to hear the transcendental glories of Krishna and engage in Krishna's service, then his human life is spoiled. Shrama Eva hi kevalam. It is a waste of time. So it is necessary to voluntarily accept this position. One should place Krishna as the center of one's life. Instead of engaging one's wife to cooking for himself, he should engage his wife to cook for the deity of Krishna. Instead of his working hard to support his family, he should work hard to support Krishna. And he should simply, and his wife should simply live as the servant of Krishna. This is constitutional life. This is a constitutional position. Other things are worldly, of this material world. We have been wandering around in this material world through endless repeated births. Not only as a human, even as an animal. And in each one of those births, that has been only our business. Worrying about our eating, our sleeping, our mating, and defending. As a chipmunk, as a worm, as a tiger, a lion, a monkey, as a demigod, as an aborigine, as a human. We have been solving these problems of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So what? Every dog solves this problem. What is your credit? Just because you stand on two hind legs, you think that that makes it more creditable that you are eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? No. Human life is especially significant when the living entity engages directly in service to Krishna. This makes human life significant. Not wasting one's time in the business of animals and being very proud. See how successfully I am eating. So what? An elephant eats much more successfully. 100 kilos every day an elephant can eat. You cannot compare. You cannot compare with the sex life of certain animals who can have sex many, many, many times in 1 hour. You cannot compare with these. But there is something which makes you special, and that is how much you have pleased Krishna. That animals have no sense for. And now the whole world is without this knowledge. They're without this knowledge. They do not know what is the purpose of human life. They think that to satisfy their senses is the goal of everything. And as far as they're able to do this, they consider that a success. Therefore, we have to show them in our Krishna consciousness movement how Krishna has become everything to us. And how, as far as our own needs go, we have minimized those. 1 or 2 sets of clothing. A few belongings, that is all. Simply for keeping the body and the soul together. Nothing more. A little bit of prasadam to eat every day. That is all we require. And a couple of sets of clothing. Nothing further. And as far as sleeping goes, simply lay down and sleep on the floor, on a mat, or in a mattress. That's all. We don't require big arrangements. But for Krishna, we shall glorify Him unlimitedly. This temple is only the beginning. We want to build big temples. There should be very beautiful temples for glorifying the Supreme Lord, so that people should see the opulence of the spiritual world. See Krishna's opulence. Because Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Now, the world is run by thieves who have stolen everything from God. And they are very proud. See how wealthy we are, building skyscrapers made of gold. But this is the business of Hiranyakasipu. Hiranyakasipu means that person who is attached to gold and the soft bed. And in this way, they are trying to imitate God. So in no way should we try to emulate these behavior of the demons. No matter how slight our emulation should be, we should not be guilty of such emulation, aspiring to soft beds and personal wealth. This is the business of a demon. A devotee doesn't care for these things. A devotee means who has given up the desire for material sense gratification and is simply interested in seeing Krishna satisfied, Krishna glorified. But we have to demonstrate this by making our deity worship very, very opulent. The foods cooked should be super excellent. Krishna must be induced to eat. The dresses should be so attractive that one cannot get the form of the Lord out of one's mind. In every way, everything should be so beautiful. And we should all be living here in this opulent abode of the Supreme Personality of God. And that shall elevate our consciousness. That we will go into hell to deliver the fallen souls. And then every day we shall return to the kingdom of God, the abode of the Lord. This temple is not within the material world. There's no such place within the material world. Because Krishna is not within the material world. Krishna's abode is called Dham. It is Param Dhamma. It is a supreme abode. It is not like the house that we live in, where we lay our material bag, called this body, down in. That is just a house. Krishna's body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. It is eternal, transcendental, and spiritual in every way. And it doesn't live within a material abode, a material house. It is all transcendental. Chintamani, Prakara Sadmaso, Kalpa Briksha Lakshabradesi. The abode of the Lord is made of Chintamani stones, touchstones. And there are Kalpa Briksha trees, desire trees. So the devotees, because Krishna has accepted them as His servants, they're not living in this material world. They're living in Goloka. They're living in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha, that place free from anxiety. Because as long as you're considering Krishna's needs, you have no anxiety. As soon as you consider your own desires, that is where anxiety begins. Anxiety begins when you start worrying, where am I going to live? What am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? This is when your anxiety begins, because you are in material life then. But when you're worried about where Krishna will live, what Krishna will wear, then you have no anxiety, because Krishna will give you that intelligence. Krishna will make that arrangement whereby you can serve Him. Just like yesterday I was saying to the pujaris that now I want to spend all the Guru Dakshin that I get for Krishna's paraphernalia, different paraphernalia for Radha Kalachandji and our deities in our zone. So as soon as I was, that was my thought. And I had no anxiety because I know this is Krishna's desire. Within 1 hour, two of my devotees immediately gave me a very big sum of money. Immediately, within less than an hour, all the money was required was immediately put on the desk. Because Krishna arranged everything. Krishna will make it very easy. If you desire purely, to serve Him becomes an easy matter. There's no difficulty. It is the difficulty comes when our personal desires stand in the way. Then it becomes very troublesome to serve Krishna. Because our sense gratification is being interfered with. But that will happen because it is not for your self-interest. It is not to your this is one's self-interest. People do not know what is the self-interest, but Krishna knows. And therefore Krishna will not facilitate the interest of your false ego. He will frustrate it. Again and again, you will fail to find the satisfaction or fulfillment for your material desires. Therefore it's described here that gradually you will give up all material desires. Because you cannot enjoy material desires. This material world is made in such a way that you shall fail in your attempt for material happiness. It is constructed that you must fail, and there is no one anywhere in the world that is successful for very long in enjoying materially. It is simply a question of time if they appear to be enjoying. But a Krishna devotee is enjoying constantly. He is enjoying constantly because that is his constitutional right. It is the nature of the soul to be eternally happy. That is your constitutional position. So one who executes very carefully devotional service by willingly taking on austerity in making Krishna the foremost master of his life, he doesn't have to suffer. He becomes happy. Rishikesha Rishikenam Sevanam Bhakti Uchite. He serves Krishna with his senses. So this is one type of austerity. And the other type is, as it is described here in the purport, the austerity of preaching. That is an austerity to preach. The whole world is full of preachers, but they're preaching the wrong gospel. They're preaching the gospel of Maya. They're preaching the gospel that this material world is our abode, that you are this body. And they're preaching very expertly, and they're performing austerities for that purpose. They're working very hard. But it is all a myth, that type of preaching. Cheating Dharma. Therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam it's described, Dharma projita kaitara vropa paramo nirmat sananam satam. This cheating dharmas are kicked out. What are these cheating dharmas? The dharma of family, friendship, and society is kicked out in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's kicked out. It's not considered at all significant. You're all enjoying in the material world, oh, I have such a good wife, such a nice child. But these things are not glorified in the Srimad Bhagavatam. They're not of any interest whatsoever to a really self-realized soul. A self-realized soul is immersed in Krishna Katha, just like the gopis. They didn't bother for their husband. They didn't bother for their children. They bothered for Krishna. That's transcendental life. You may say that why should I, if I have a wife and children, if I'm not attached to them, how will I take proper care of them? So, yes, the example is used that just like when a person goes to work every day, they still bother to dress themselves very nicely. In addition to their other duties, they also take care of their body and dress themselves nicely. Simultaneously, they do that. So you have some real duty, service to Krishna and Guru. But simultaneously, you will also take care of these other duties. But they're not of much interest. They're not what absorbs you. You don't establish your life for that purpose. Your whole life is meant for service. Bhakti. Bhakti means to Krishna. It doesn't mean to some demigod or ordinary human. We're not interested in serving some human or demigod. We're interested in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we serve our spiritual master, it's because he represents God. It's not that he's taking the service personally. Whatever he's offered, he offers to Krishna. He's transparent. He doesn't block the vision of Krishna. He shows Krishna to us. Therefore, we offer some respect to him. All respect to him. Because he's a transparent via medium. So, in preaching, there is austerity. In going door to door, you will be rebuffed. You will be turned away. So you have to be very humble. You have to, as Lord Chaitanya says, be more humble than a blade of grass. Trinata pisanichena. More humble than a blade of grass. A blade of grass is trodden upon. You may be stepped on. You may be rebuked. But that won't deter you in your preaching attempt. The whole world has to be preached to. We are preaching by distributing books, liberating Lakshmi from the materialists. And that is a great service. This material world, especially now in America, is the wealthiest country in the world. There should be no poverty. How can Krishna be poor? One should work very hard for this preaching mission. If we increase our Sankirtan, then we'll be able to actually do this, to distribute transcendental books. And in that way, thousands of people will take the Krishna consciousness. They're just waiting for these books, waiting to read them, and waiting to join this movement. So we should be very impatient for increasing Sankirtan. How can we tolerate to maintain our present situation where no books are being distributed? It is intolerable. One should simply be thinking how to increase Sankirtan in such a way that we can distribute hundreds of thousands of transcendental literatures so that people will wake up and also come to the point of Krishna consciousness. Because the devotee wants to share his happiness with others. So this is actually, as it is described here, that in this way, by such austerity and devotional service, one is purified of material existence. Purified of material. But the more you sacrifice in the service to Krishna, the more you become purified. And if you're not willing to make sacrifice on the instruction of the spiritual master, you remain materially contaminated. You'll remain materially contaminated. It's not just because you're initiated that you're guaranteed to become delivered. If you don't take the instruction of the spiritual master seriously, you remain materially contaminated. Here it's clearly said, such austerity and devotional service purifies one of material existence. Indeed, such austerity leads one to the constitutional position of devotional service. Devotional service in its constitutional position means no more thought for material existence. No more thought for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. No more thought for the bodily conception of life. It simply means to be absorbed constantly in service to Krishna. Not in the service of this body, in the service of bodies of others. That welfare activity is second class. Other institutions, they're interested in this type of thing. Hospitals, schools, etc. But that is not transcendental. That is simply the service, again, of this material body. Our society is not like that. We are presenting the holy name of Krishna, transcendental books, and Krishna Prashana. This is food for the soul. This is the highest welfare activity. In this way, one can give up material desires. As soon as one is freed from material desires, he is free from repetition of birth, death, old age, and disease. So this should be our determination, that in this lifetime I shall become fully Krishna conscious, so that I never have to take another birth again in this material world. Don't make it hard. The spiritual masters agreed to take you out of this material world. Don't make his job hard. Cooperate with his instructions. That was the contract that you signed. Yes, I accept you as my spiritual master. I agree to follow your instruction. That was the contract that you signed. Why are you breaking the contract? You signed this contract, and now you go back on the terms. And what for? What is the purpose of going back on it? What happiness will you achieve? You suffered, therefore you came to spiritual life, and now you go back again. What is the purpose of such activity? One should actually understand that the spiritual master knows what our self-interest is. He knows what is best for me. Therefore, he's giving me instruction. To take initiation means to place the spiritual master before one's own mind. Not that your mind keeps dictating you. I shall do this, I shall do that. It means my spiritual master's instructions, his orders are my life and soul, and I don't know anything else. That is because he represents God. And you are spiritual. You are eternally the part and parcel of God. You don't have any connection with material life. There's no connection between the soul and matter. It is all an illusion. You are connected with matter simply on account of illusion. There is no connection. The soul has no connection with material existence. It is simply connected with Krishna. Mamai Vangsha Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. You are eternally the part and parcel of Krishna. Eternally. This is your illusion. Now wake up out of your illusion. Ji Jago, Ji Jago. Gora Chandra Bole. Chant the holy name of Krishna. Chant the holy name of Lord Gauranga. That means serve Krishna. Get out of this illusion. Stay out of the lap of Maya. There's no connection. You're holding on to Maya. Otherwise, there's no connection between matter and spirit. The connection between you is with God. And the spiritual master is a representative of God. And when he gives you instruction, it's on behalf of God to bring you back to God. So how you make his job hard? By holding on to Maya's lap. What is the purpose of that? That is what is stopping the spreading of Krishna consciousness. Our attachment to materialism. But we should give up this attachment to materialism. We should be prepared to accept these austerities. Tapo divyam putrika yena sattvam sudyat. This makes you pure. When you accept these austerities. And human life is meant for this. Tapasya brahmacharya from the beginning. Now when you have children, if you're going to have any children, you give them austerity from the beginning. Don't give them the sense gratification that has bewildered you. Give them austerity. Therefore, brahmacharya guru kule vishandanto guru ritan. This is the purpose of the gurukul. To teach austerity. Because life is meant for austerity. That is the purpose of human life. The animals, they don't know what is austerity. They don't know what is sense gratification. Only a human being can undergo austerity. And the more you're willing to undergo austerity on behalf of Krishna, the quicker you get out of this material world. The sooner you end your existence of repeated birth and death. So these two activities are our only business. To serve the deity of Krishna and to engage in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. There is no other activity. That is the sum and substance of this Krishna conscious movement. Everything is spinning on these 2 points. It's just like an axle has 2 wheels. So our movement is situated on this chariot, and the chariot's axle has got 2 wheels. One of them is Sankirtan and the other is deity worship. That's all there is. And everything circles on those points. There may be many points, but they're all connected, just like on spokes on a wheel. There may be many aspects of these 2 activities, but they're all centered on that. And what is the business of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? Is on another chariot. It is the chariot going the other way back into material existence. So don't come to Krishna consciousness and put forward your demands. I need an arrangement for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That is material existence. Our business is not for that, to fulfill this activity of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So we should practice this austerity, take advantage fully of the instructions of these transcendental books. The whole purpose is to teach us these 2 activities, deity worship and Sankirtan. Everybody should become expert in deity worship and Sankirtan. This is our only business. Are there any questions?
Sometimes a devotee experiences difficulty in this process, making advancement going on. And how does he see this difficulty? Is it sometimes is it a test from Krishna, or is it sometimes just Maya, material attachment? How can you tell the difference between something that's coming from Krishna and something that's coming from Maya?
A devotee, a genuine devotee, if he has got any test, then he should place it before the spiritual master for confirmation. Test means some idea comes in the mind, right? So he has to place that before his spiritual master or the representative of the spiritual master. Is this test coming from, is this desire or thought coming from Krishna or Maya? Then you'll know by asking the authority. It's very simple. If you have any question about your anything that you're doing, you place it before your spiritual master or his representative. Is this coming from Krishna or Maya? Then it's to be hoped that after you do that, whatever they tell you, you'll do. Now that becomes very troublesome. If after doing this, and the spiritual master says, this is Maya, and you go on being in Maya, then what? What is to be done? Then what is to be done? What can be done to such a person? He goes before the spiritual master says, this is Maya, and he goes on engaging in Maya. What can be done? What is to be done for such a person? All you can do is pray for their deliverance. Spiritual life is very easy. It really is easy. Because we have this parampara system that we're connected with Krishna through the parampara chain. It becomes very easy. All you have to do is put forward the position to your spiritual master and he'll tell you what to do. Very easy. But if you have no faith in your spiritual master and his representative, then you're in big trouble. That's why there's fall down. Why does someone fall down? People are falling down now. Why does anyone fall down? Because they lose faith in the guru or his representative. And if you have faith in the guru, then you must have faith in his representative. If he's actually represented, if he's actually presenting what the spiritual master says and wants, then you must have faith in him. If you don't have faith in him, you don't have faith in your spiritual master. You have faith in your own, you don't even have faith, but you're dictated to by your own material desires. That is all. Or the mind's dictation. Senses dictation or the mind's dictation. But if you're willing to submit yourself to your spiritual master and the spiritual master's representative, how easy spiritual life becomes. It is very easy. I mean, it's certainly arduous in the sense that we have to work very hard, but at least it's very easy. All the work is in the right direction. We're going back to Godhead for that work, that hard labor.
Obviously, Srila Prabhupada used pure devotee, and he underwent great tests in his life, so we know that these were tests to strengthen him, make him more powerful preacher. So similarly, we may also think we're undergoing tests. How can we distinguish between something that...
Everything is a test from Krishna. When you're a devotee, everything is a test from Krishna. The question is what you're going to do. For a devotee, nothing is sent that is not... Everything for a devotee is being arranged by Krishna. But how you take it and what you do with it, that is another matter. And for that, you have to go to the authorities and check it out. Am I going about it the right way or not? The whole thing is faith in the spiritual master. Everything depends upon that point. The whole principle of spiritual advancement is how much faith you have in your guru. That's the sum and substance of spiritual life. For one who has perfect faith in his spiritual master, he will not take another birth again. He'll go back to Godhead in this lifetime. That's the whole thing. How seriously do you have faith in your spiritual master? And if you don't have faith in your spiritual master, then you should take the help of your God brothers who do. That's why the sadhu is there. Guru, sadhu, shastra. That's why the God brothers are there. Because it is to be seen that some have more faith than others. Therefore, we should associate with those who have more faith than we do, so that we will be helped by them to develop faith in our spiritual master. That is the purpose of associating with the God brother, or a more advanced God sister, so that we increase our faith in the spiritual master. And faith is shown by how much you're able to execute the instructions, how much you're able to fulfill the desires of your spiritual master, which are the desires of Krishna. Faith is not something, just a word or an empty phrase. Faith is practical. It's demonstrated by how much you're able to fulfill the desires of your spiritual master. That is a sign of one who has faith. Because he knows faith means that I have faith in someone because I believe that whatever they say will be good for me. That's why I have faith in it. And as opposed to that, I have faith in my own ideas. But that is foolish, because your own ideas have forced you to take birth in the material world. Whereas the spiritual master is helping you to avoid taking birth in the material world. How can you be happy by having to die? How can death make you happy? Death only causes misery. So you have caused yourself to take repeated birth and death. But the Guru gives life. Guru gives Krishna, and Krishna is eternal life. Therefore, I should have faith in my spiritual master's words, that they're going to actually make me happy. His order will make me happy, even if in the beginning it requires some suffering in the form of austerity. Even if it means I have to give up. A Nectar of Devotion says that you should be prepared to give up those things which are not advantageous to your spiritual life, and to take up those things which are. Even if you have to give up things which you don't want to give up, you should give them up if they help you to advance spiritually. That is if someone's serious. If someone is not serious, then they can't do this. And then they're not serious about spiritual life. They're not yet serious at all. One who is serious, he's ready to give up things which he's attached to if they're not helpful to his advancement. And how do you know if they're helpful or not? You ask your spiritual master. Or you ask his representative. It's simple.
How does one develop and maintain this burning desire to live the life of
Yeah, as you advance in your spiritual life, that desire will come simultaneously. Automatically it will come. As you make advancement in spiritual life, as you become serious about delivering yourself, you'll become serious about delivering others. If you're serious about advancing, if you're very serious about giving up sense gratification and advancing yourself in spiritual life, automatically you'll feel the same seriousness for helping others. But when you're yourself still attached to Maya, when you're yourself still lingering on enjoying your senses, then you have no desire to deliver others. The more austere you are, the more strict you are with yourself, the more you'll become empowered to preach. Because the more you'll advance in spiritual life, the stricter you are.
For a new bhakta that will come into this program, and the conditions are like maritime conditions to get the temple finished, what would be more important for that bhakta to work, to finish the temple, or to advance the spiritual life by reading?
Finish the temple, that is advancing in spiritual life. Then you get special mercy of Krishna. The faster this temple is finished, the faster Krishna will bless everybody. Now, only one jewel is in place. Only one setting is. The main jewel is in place, and the setting for it is there. But now the rest, it's like a big necklace. It's like the necklace goes around the neck. And then at the bottom of the necklace there's a big jewel. And that jewel is Radhakala Chanji. And they're in their setting, the altar. But what about all of this? You've presented Krishna, the jewel, a nice setting for himself. But what about the rest of it? You have to finish this as soon as possible. That doesn't mean that you neglect chanting. Actually, if you chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 principles, and attend the full programs, the temple, that's all you require. You'll advance automatically. There'll always be a marathon, because it's a race against death. Our business is eternal marathon. The marathon will never stop.